The fifth sign that we're now going to discuss is Leo. Leo is a fire sign. The quality is fixed and the energy is yang. So on your little index card, you want to write Leo Sun, because the sun rules Leo, and the fifth house. And the subtitle, Fire, Fix, and Yang. Now, as mentioned before, there is the build-up from the ascendant to the fifth house, more in the houses, because that's the personal thing, of subjectivity. First house, the body instinct. Second house, my needs, resources. Third house, my way to express myself, to gather information, broadcast information. Fourth house, my emotional safety, my roots, my emotional self-image, my inner home, my inner child, whatever it takes. My association with gender, male, female, in regards of my physical gender. And now this all comes like to this whole one thing of highest subjectivity. So Leo is the archetype of subjectivity and the fifth house. And another word for that would be the personality. The subjective personality. And as I mentioned before, every one of us sees himself or herself, I always want to say itself, no male, female, sees himself or herself as the center of life. Not in a narcissistic way, but we are just very, I'm here and the rest is around me. So Leo, being this fire-ish, yang, and fixed energy, it is basically holding the vitality, archetype of Leo, vitality, into a realm of a clear or more or less clear defined personality, of subjectivity. And Leo, naturally, and the fifth house, but especially Leo, is the archetype of strength. I do discriminate between the words strength and power, right? Because strength cannot abuse. Power can. Power is more like something that belongs to Scorpio or Pluto or the eighth house. But that vital strength of that sun-ruled sign of Leo, this fire-ish thing, ruled by the sun, that radiates, so radiation, radiance, is clearly a Leo thing. Where the self is in the center, but the subjective self, not the divine self, right? Creates a charismatic, I wouldn't say magnetism, because it does not necessarily attract, because it's a yang energy. Magnetism is more something that belongs to the Taurus Venus. Yeah? We attract what we need, would be the key. But that Leo is just this beak of light, of warm radiance, vital, life-embracing, and playful. Playful energy, which does not mean that the Leo has to be childish, but playful in terms of like, that can be a flirt, that can be like, like the British are good in purposely misunderstanding a word to put it on a different level, close to the belt line, right? Hitting you there and keeping up the British agenda like, oh, that's interesting. Those kind of things. That's kind of like, there's any forms of playfulness, right? Even playfulness can be that someone keeps a very stern appearance or agenda, while behind that poker face there might be like a giggle, right? So everything that has to do with vitality, with the strength of vitality, with the oomph of life itself, so to speak, is about Leo. And on a physical level, it rules the heart. A Leo heart, right? And because Leo has this sense of being the center, even in a dysfunctional way, the self-centeredness, what we use in English, like, oh, he's very self-centered. But within itself, the word self-centered is a good word, because many people are not in their own center. They're lost in space somewhere or frazzled. So being self-centered in my strength, and another word, in my potential. I mean, keep in mind that Leo makes a square to Taurus. So we could have a discussion about what is resources and what is potential. They're very much similar and alike, right? But potential gives more of a whoops, a kind of a oomph, right? Where the resources, if you are a farmer, you have land, that would be your resources. Yeah? But the potential has more of an energetic drive to it, to make something out of your resources in a blooming way, right? I mean, the sunflower is the symbol, for the Leo. Yeah? It blooms in a big, grandiose way. So all those words like grandiose, regal, royal, dignity, not a snobby, stuck-up dignity, but a true dignity. When the king bows to the beggar to help him to pick up something, it's still a king. He does not lose his dignity. Dignity is not arrogance, right? Dignity can bend. It is very flexible, but maintains that regal, royal vitality. And with that naturally comes, due to the trine to Sagittarius, the other fire sign, usually also joy. When one is in her strength, in her dignity, you are carried with another energy that belongs more to Sagittarius, and that is joy. So that's not a Leo thing, but it plays into that. And with that ability to be, so to speak, the center of life, or the center of vitality, Leo showers or radiates his love, his light, his warmth upon everyone. Like our sun in our solar system. The sun shines the light on everything. On an asteroid as much as on Earth and Mars and all that. So it's not very discriminated about it because it is so focused on the own center. Which is lovely to be with a Leo, especially when you're down or your lack of vitality, because they give you that kind of like, oh, life is good kind of thing, right? But because of being the center, Leo expects the appropriate feedback. And that feedback should be much better phrased than just, oh, that was good. You should use the grammar version of superlative. That was the best. That was absolutely amazing. Oh, there is no greater. I never had such an enjoyable evening. Oh my God, what a perfectly charming person you are. Oh my God, got it? Like that kind of thing, right? That is just good enough for the Leo, right? I mean, the Leo energy. I'm not talking about Leo personality. And so, like the sun is aware that it gives all its light, its warmth, its vitality to all the planets, but simultaneously it is aware that all the planets are spinning around the sun. And similarly, Leo archetype sees everything spinning around himself, which can be a great thing when in a functional, natural position. Let's say you are a director on the movie set, right? Because you are the center. The technicians come to you, the lighting people come to you, the managers, the actors, everything comes to you. You are like the spider in the web in a very positive way, right? And yet a good director is not the one who puts themselves above the others, but he sees themselves as equal among equal. Pares inter pares is the Latin expression for that. Then Leo is really in its strength, because then there's this natural, I would like to say authority, even though authority is more of a Capricorn archetype, and I discriminate between a natural authority and a paper authority, right? I mean, give like a jerk a uniform, and a gun, then he is an authority, but he's not really an authority. And a personality like me really has to discipline himself to not give them the feeling that they're not an authority, which I would like to do. But the natural kind of thing is that vitality, this creativity, makes them naturally a king, a regal person. And we all of us have a longing to, how shall I say, to have a stronger or higher entity, let's call it just entity, yeah, which is ultimately God, right? That we can somehow be in touch with. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that kind of like regal presence, like the Leo enters the room and the room is filled with his charismatic personality. Yeah? And it shines a light on everyone, but is clearly everyone looks at me. That can be in a natural way, that it's not dysfunctional, or in a dysfunctional way, then it becomes narcissistic, you know, in many, many forms. Then we have in psychology called the secondary narcissism, yeah, which is a dysfunctional neurotic disturbance of the emotional body from the first year of age, because the family was either not nurturing the child in the first 12 months or overly nurturing, and the mom was, you are the best, there's no one better, that, yeah, those kind of things that would lead to this kind of like narcissism, right? But away from that dysfunctional thing, within that boost of not letting energy out, you know, it stays the center. The sun is not dissipating; it just radiates its light, right? From there comes the creativity. And when I say creativity, I don't mean, as in our society's creativity, oh, I'm a painter, or yeah, I'm doing like, you know, I do the holy goddess dance at new moon in the forest. I mean, that might be creative too, right? But creative is using our God-given abilities for a constructive, making something constructive, let's put it this way. And this way, the most creative thing we in a human body have is giving life to children. So therefore, the fifth house, as I said before, being playful. In sexual terms, it's sexual playfulness. It's not like, okay, I have 5 minutes. That's not playful, right? But in a playful way, when I take my resources of my second house, with another person, Venus rules the 7th sign, Libra. And my 5th house playfulness, which makes a square to Taurus or 2nd house and to Scorpio, we have a form of sexual playfulness that can create 5th house archetype children. So the 5th house is children. It's not your own childhood. Please discriminate. If you want to look at someone's chart how the childhood was, that's Cancer archetype. You would look at the 4th house because Cancer is the 4th sign. If you want to see his or her children, you want to look into the 5th house. Yeah? The same is true for if you want to see how playful the person is or what kind of plays the person likes, even in erotic sensual terms. Right? That's one way. By the way, especially in Canada, families have a tendency to have more than just one child, right? The firstborn child, firstborn, meaning the first living child, not if you had a miscarriage, right? But the first living child is the 5th house. The second-born child is the sibling of the first child. That means you take the 5th house, your 5th house, the sign of the house cusp, where's the planetary ruler, step number 2, entwined. Are there any planets in there? Step number 3, where's the natural ruler, which is always the sun? That defines how your first child is or will be. And if you later have a second child, you now count from the 5th house. 3 houses further, because sibling is the archetype of Gemini, therefore 3rd house. So you count 5th house 1, 6th house, 2, 7th house, 3. So the 7th house cusp, the sign in the house cusp, where's the planetary ruler and house sign aspects, are there eventual planets in there, where's the natural ruler, which is always Venus, gives you the information about your second living child. If there's another child, it's another sibling from the second child. So now you go from the 7th house, count 7th house 1, 8th house 2, 9th house 3. The third child is always the 9th house. Sign in the house cusp, where's the planetary ruler, yada, yada, yada. And so on and on and on and on. If you have miscarriages or abortions, they do not count in this technique. They are important if you do family constellation work or systemic constellation work, as I perform. Then the lost children are important in the order of children, but they're not to be seen in the chart, in this technique. Yet, if you would have had a child, which I would not wish for anyone, if you would have had a child, let's say you have one child, first child, second child is born, lives, and dies an hour after birth, which must be horrible. You know, that child counts because it was alive. The heart was beating by their own breath. Make sense? Just a little discrimination. So it's all about children. And what do children love? Children love to play. Children love attention, right? I mean, there comes like your kid, like from, into the kitchen and shows you, look, Mom, I drew this picture for you. It's ugly like and you, oh, how wonderful. Let's put it on the fridge. Oh, you're so cute. You're so wonderful. That's the natural reaction to Leonian energy. Yeah? It's just amazing. So children love attention, Leo does. Yeah? Children love to play, Leo does. That can be gambling in a high class way, like stock market, or it could be, in a dysfunctional way as an alcoholic, like someone in an illegal poker booth. Anything that has to do with playing. It can be creativity, but creativity does not necessarily need a canvas and paint and, I'm the artist, right? Creativity can be anything. Especially when one is grown up, like not a child anymore, then it could be that this person runs her own business. The entrepreneur. Any kind of enterprise that has a lot to do with creative, playful energy, like a big entrepreneur, right? Because it is an expression, it's a personal expression, archetype, personal expression, not verbally like in the third house, but it's a personal expression of one's vitality, of one's creativity, of one's playfulness. And also a little bit like, because Leo makes a square to Scorpio, like a little bit like edging with the risk. Do I win or do I lose? Life or death? Yeah, Scorpio has a lot to do with death. Right? So it's that kind of like thing, a real good natural businessman, who just has to, let's do it. This New York thing I described at Cancer, let's do it, let's get it done. A real natural powerhouse, a Leonian archetype, that says, I always wanted to run my own business. And now they do a deal or something, and there might be a certain risk to that. Like similar playing poker, right? That gives them the kick, right? And if he then won, if he's the top dog, if he's like, I did it, that's the kind of like thing. And it's attractive within itself because it radiates like a lot of beautiful, beautiful energy upon others. And what Leo also is the archetype for is competition. It goes right back, Leo, the animal, the lions in the Roman Empire, they were shipped from Africa in quite a sophisticated way for them to stay alive, to put them into the arena. So Leo sees whatever Leo does as his arena, right? And in that arena, he is the king. He's the boss. He's the one who, with his creative things of the Aries ability, Taurus abilities, Gemini abilities, and Cancer abilities, is now playing with the things, right? But it also loves the competition. Let's say someone has a similar entrepreneur than I do, like just next door. Ooh, the games are opened, right? Then we start the competition. So anything that has to do with competition, be it like, I don't know, wrestling, yeah, which has an Aries archetype with it, of course, or business competition, even the international competition, what country produces more, blah, 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 that's all Leo. That's all like, me, right? So, but it's all a very healthy thing, yeah, because it keeps you revitalized or vital, right? But it needs the feedback. Success is a form of feedback. And Leo is usually not afraid of success. Success is the middle name, basically, right? If that is not the case, then there must be very strong disturbances within the person's history or in the chart that this does not work. But we also have to define, of course, what is success, right? Leo, within this like Leonian regal thing, is the master of support. Whereas master is more like a Capricorn archetype. Yeah? But that that radiance, that strength, that just takes you, is the wind underneath your wings and carries you through, motivates you, revitalizes you, gets you going, pushes you over, pumps you up with his energy, which is endless. That's all very Leonian. Leo has the ability to revitalize other people, just as a Leo archetype. Right? How one does that, we have to look at the fifth house. Where's the planetary ruler, what sign, etc. Like if you, for instance, we haven't gone through Pisces yet, but if someone has Pisces on the fifth house cusp, Pisces being the winter sign, yeah, that kind of thing, then that the vitality, fifth house of that person is more of a Piscean nature. So this person needs eventually more sleep than other people to stay revitalized. Yeah, the vitality of this person might be rather weak and sensitive than in comparison with me. I have Leo in the fifth house cusp with a sun in the ninth house Sagittarius. Takes a lot to get me down. Or in playfulness, if someone wants to invite me to a party or to do something, words like, I have Leo with a sun in Sagittarius. Sagittarius likes to have joy, yeah, traveling. If someone say, would you like to travel with me to Paris? There's a great dance party and it's going to be international crowd. International is Sagittarius. I'm on, right? If you say the same sentence to the person with Pisces on the fifth house cusp, no. Makes sense? It's like, no, right? But if you would say to the person with Pisces on the fifth house cusp, shall we do something forbidden? In a whisper way, if from behind, oh yes. So, anyway, just to get an idea about the Leo thing. I mentioned the narcissism. Yeah? There is a constructive one. Basically, some of the German clients sometimes say, Ulrich, you're such a show-off when you're teaching, right? My intention is not show-off, but I think a good teacher is someone who's also, and that's also an archetype of Leo, an actor, otherwise I could just write it on a whiteboard and you have it. But being in a playful expression, which is Leo, like an actor, like a performance. This is a performance. But it's not about me, it's about getting the message across. Yeah? So there is a constructive way of self-presenting or presenting yourself, and there's a dysfunctional that you need that. Like a person with moon in Leo, yeah, has the emotional need for constant attention, feedback. So as they are very creative, as they have this strong, expressive, charismatic aura, so to speak, which shines on everyone, there's of course not only business or entrepreneurs, but there's also any form of creative professions. Primarily, of course, the actor, right? And this Leonian actor, this center stage presence, if not to say diva, if someone at the end, or when the piece was ending and they're bowing and saying thank you, and there are people already leaving, they might be heartbroken. How could someone leave the theater where they are still on stage? Those kind of little things. So, as wonderful and creative the Leo archetype is, it is always a reminder that they are not the creativity themselves. They're not the source of creativity, they are the channel of creativity. The source is Pisces. And Leo makes an inconjunct 150-degree angle to Pisces. Right? So we know that inconjunct 150-degree angles similar to Virgo have a tendency to bring crises to adjust. Right? I mentioned that before. So, if the Leo accepts the fact that he's only the channel of creativity, it's all good. Because then this ability to support, to enrich, to revitalize is all given in a strong yet humble way. That's Leo.
Free your mind.
Remember times without time.
Free your